kind of like, okay.
Sorry about that. I had to click the wrong button. Today, welcome to One Actual. We're going to be working with the Hornet School. Going to put some of my, hopefully, formation flying skills to the test. But really, we're going to be working with Hornet from Hornet School, and we're going to go through the tips and tricks he uses to teach people some of the most important admin skills. For me, I think the admin skill side of flying is where the teamwork begins. It's what allows you to be able to work with your teammates, to be able to fly, near the carrier or an airfield efficiently. It lets you be able to refuel in the air. It allows you to be able to work as a team and extend your playtime in an area of operation so you can go out and refuel and come back. There's a lot of different things with that. Before we get into the lesson, Hornet, how was your Thanksgiving?
It was good. It was good.
Yeah? We were quiet and stuffed ourselves. In fact, I had this last piece of turkey on the plate, and I was like, oh, it's so good, I should eat it. And then I forgot we had pie, and I was like, oh my God, I can't. But then how do you not eat the pie that your wife made,
Exactly.
Get in trouble.
Exactly.
So what are your thoughts before we get into this about the importance of the admin skills? Because to me,
Crossword traffic 800 inbound from the west.
Hold on, I'm hearing traffic from DCS.
28 miles.
Yeah, just
Crossword traffic 05 right. Over.
Okay, I turned those down too. Woo, sorry about that. Okay, let's go back to your stream. Technical difficulties today. Anyhow, I feel like it's a very important skill, and for someone who's trying to bring new recruits in, I care more about their administrative skills than I do the skills that they might think of in terms of using bombs. So why don't you bring up that image really, Ken, and then tell me what your thoughts are about the admin skills.
Okay. So as far as admin skills wise, I think formation flight is a very, very important skill to have in your pocket, and for a number of reasons, right? First and foremost, it's for you to travel from point A to point B, all together in the most, efficient way possible, right? That way, there's nobody lagging behind. Everybody, can see each other. All that craziness. But what I think makes formation flight very, very important is there's so many things that happen when you can fly formation, right? It's if you can't fly formation, you can't tank, because what are you doing when you tank? You're flying formation. You're trying.
It's
to hit
the
one by
same
one
skill,
basket.
right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it limits your FMC. You are not FMC if you can't fully mission capable if you can't fly form.
Now, I know it's a hard skill and people have struggled with it, but what I have found personally, and I know we talked about this a little bit, adjusting your axis curves, putting a 10, 15% curve in depending on your joystick, and adjusting it, putting a curve even into your throttle has been successful. Since you're part of Hornet School, and in this podcast today, our whole point is to go inside the Hornet School, a class you can take, which there's a link in the description for Hornet School's Discord. But what tips have you given people for setting up their joysticks to be successful?
So I'll say this: it doesn't matter what joystick you have. All right, you don't need to go out and buy a Virpil or a Warthog or the most expensive joystick. Okay, it's the person. It's not the joystick. I mean, I can tank with an Xbox controller. Just throwing it out there. So it's all about you and the effort and practice that you put in. Now, there are some things that can help you. So Callie suggested adding curves, which I fly with curves. I don't know anybody who doesn't. That doesn't have like a full sim pit.
Why don't you show your curves really quick?
What are my curves?
Yeah, everyone wants to see your curves, sweetie.
Okay, what are my curves? Let's see, axis, commands. Where's my stick? That's my stick. All right, so these are my curves. I've got 20 on my pitch, and then I've got 15 on my roll.
Okay, interesting.
So, I'm a little goofy.
Do you have any on your throttle?
None on the throttle, none on the rudder. I've got a dead zone with the rudder, but I don't have not axis assign, axis tune. No curves on the rudder, and again, no curves on the throttle. I don't see the point in adding curves on the throttle unless you have a very fancy throttle that has that detent that comes with it. That
to stop it from
detent.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Oh, I never thought about it for that. So I don't know. I put it in. I got used to it. So it's probably just the fact that I got used to it. But either way, I mean, for me, when I've seen people try to fly formation and I see them doing a lot of pilot-induced oscillation, or PIO, the first thing I ask them is, what curves do you have set? And I will push them off, have them go autopilot, adjust some curves, because you can do it live, come back, and they'll see a lot better. And I'll say, okay, push it off, let's adjust this. So I might start them at 10 or 15, have them go up or down, kind of if they feel like it's too hard or not too easy to push. But I'm guessing when you've had people adjust their curves, have you seen those kind of differences?
So yes, every single time. You get people that come in and they have a stick with probably, 4 inches of throw in every direction, whereas in real life we've got a giant foot long stick with about a foot throw in every direction. So a lot of people don't know that, hey, you can adjust these curves. So yes, whenever you go in, you'll have these guys adjust their curves, and it comes out so much more smoother. It's a double-edged sword though. Adding curves, it's like a kind of a bell curve almost. You get to the point where if you throw your curves so much so that, you have to throw your stick all the way forward to get any deflection, that's not good, obviously. So I generally tell people start at 10 to 20, like anywhere between 10 and 25 is like the best place to start. And as you start to, fly, lower them. But one thing I do recommend for people who are first starting off with formation flight, and this is a big tip. So if you're going to be writing down any tips today, this is the first one I would write down. If you ever have a day where you had a really good flight, like form was solid, and you like left thinking, hey, like I'm hot shit, take some tape. If you've got like a table mounted stick, take some tape and mark the corners where your HOTAS was, because that's where your HOTAS was for you to have a good day.
Oh, you mean if it isn't solid mounted?
Correct. Yeah. Like
yeah.
Mine just sits on my desk.
Okay.
So if you don't have like a nice rig, and you went and were able to tank the first try, take some tape, mark down the corners where your HOTAS and your throttle were for that day, and only fly like that with it in that exact spot, because what you're trying to do is build up muscle memory. If it feels good, then you're going to perform good. So that's my first tip.
No, right. So the right position. I have a sim rig that has a support for my arms. I'm lucky that I have the room for this, and everything is always in the same place. But to get it where it is, there's a lot of adjustment. So it took me a long time to fine tune the physical location. So we're talking about tuning your axes and tuning the physical position of your body in relation to the HOTAS.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I agree. I have to say that those are really, really critical. So moving forward here, I know we have this top-notch, high-quality diagram, but what's next on the list for you for the teaching class? Nothing but the best for One Actual in the Hornet School, right?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. We're all smiles here, including the little gentleman and the whatever.
He's a happy guy.
He is. So we're going to go over a couple of terms today, right? You're going to hear me say the meatball. When I say the meatball, I am talking about this little star. I don't know if that's what it's called in real life.
I always call it the star and stripe, but the meatball works.
Not to be confused with, the meatball on the carrier side. This is
a bit different. Yeah.
So we're going to be talking about two things, bearing line and the meatball, right? So starting off, can you answer what the bearing line is, Callie?
So the bearing line, as I understand it, is basically this red line that you have here, and I'm coming off about a 45-degree angle co-altitude with you, just at that straight angle coming back from your position in the cockpit to mine.
Absolutely. So it's that imaginary line, that point of reference from your eyeballs to a fixed position on your lead's aircraft, right? So that fixed position can either be the meatball or it can be the pilot's face, right? But essentially what we're doing is we're drawing a line from our eyes to our lead's wingtip, from that wingtip to these 2 points of references, right?
Now I use the missile tip. Is that an issue?
Yes, this is the missile.
Okay.
Missile tip or wingtip, yes.
Let me say one thing. I put it where you have it now when I'm just generally flying. If I think my flight lead's going to need to turn right, I put it up on his head so I don't have to push down and roll at the same time.
Yes, so either one of these is fine, right?
Yep.
Either one of these is fine. I like to aim for the meatball. That's just my personal preference. That's where I'm the most comfortable. I've seen people put it on the pilot's head. As you start to extend, right? So this bearing line extends from 14 inches off the wingtip to, a half mile out. Okay, you are always trying to aim for his wingtip somewhere between this line, right? For me, the star is a little bit easier to see, but as long as you're in the general spot and you're keeping this a nice, consistent line, you are flying on that bearing line, and it extends from his face or his star all the way out to infinity. So technically, you could be geez, you need like eagle vision, but you could be 10 miles out, and as long as you're on this bearing line and all these things are lined up, you're flying formation.
Well,
So that's, go ahead.
well, in a squadron's context, right? So we fly in like parade position, we'll fly in like a cruise position, and so there are different times you would use different distances and lengths. So all of it comes into play, but the same skill, regardless of which defined formation you're in or distance, is the same skill of being able to see that spot and follow your lead, right?
Exactly.
Now,
So we're gonna do go. So real quick, I want to do just for your audience that doesn't really understand the concept of what we're talking about with this little floating rectangle. You'll see it in play here in a little bit when he's in the air. But essentially, as you're flying, right? We're just pretending this is his wingtip, and as we move forward, right, our point of reference is going to change. So this wing is going to start to come back, right? This means we're too forward in the set. If we start to fall behind, right, we're going to start to see the wing come back, and now it'll be in front of the star, right? That means we're too far back. Again, if we're too low, the wingtip will be super high, and if we're too high, the wingtip will be super low. So it's this constant like bobbing, weaving motion that you're going to kind of see, but you generally want to keep, the wingtip either centered on, the meatball or his little face.
so we're going to test my skills here today, and I have to say, I hope that I can do somewhat decent, because if you don't know, in the podcast, Hornet flies with the virtual squadron of the Blue Angels, and so his flying skills and how he's going to critique me, I think, are going to be pretty high. But I am looking forward to it. I will say, if you slide that gray thing back to the left a little bit, one of the biggest things I see, and do it a little bit more actually to be dramatic, is people are afraid to do what I call grab the throttle. So if you're behind, people want to do like little things with the throttle. I find, and again, I'll be critiqued and judged later, I will grab a heap of that throttle, let it go forward, and pull back to about where I originally was so I can make up that gap, because you're not going to do that with a tiny bit of throttle input very quickly. But I also don't like being out of position, so like I will fight hard to get there. And maybe that's not the best advice for somebody who's new.
I tell them all the time, don't be afraid of your throttle. And this is your next tip, right? If you've got pen and paper, formation flight is 90% throttle, 10% stick.
I am
That is
always working the
100
throttle.
exactly. That is 100% all of the time. Your throttle should be a washboard, and your flight stick should be like you are flying with a string of spaghetti, not a string, a stick of spaghetti, right? We want to be nice and gentle. We don't want to break that spaghetti straw or stick or whatever we're going to call it. You be very, very gentle, right? I tell a lot of guys who are starting off, get very, very comfortable and pinch your throttle or pinch your stick with your thumb and your finger and push and squeeze and roll your wrist. That's all we're going to do. We're not doing anything else. We're not death gripping, because you get a lot of guys that come in and death grip the throttle, right? And I know I'm going off on kind of a tangent, but it's something I want to bring up in case I don't get the chance to. You have two different muscle groups, right? You've got or motor skills, right? You've got your fine motor skills and your gross motor skills. You need your fine motor skills to fly form, correct? If you are death gripping your throttle, you are exhausting all the muscles in your hand, all the muscles in your wrist, all the muscles in your forearm. So by the time you are relying on those fine motor skills, you've exhausted them, and all you have left are gross motor skills, right? So you're going to hear me say a lot of the time, when I'm doing these formation practices, is relax your hand, drop your shoulders, lean back in your seat. All right. Oh, I can see you bobbing. Are you death gripping? Yep, you are. All right. Ease off a bit. Relax your hand. Lower your shoulders. Okay. They'll come back in. They'll get steady. They'll start to bob. All right. Your shoulders are back in your ears again. Drop your shoulders. So, the key of flying form is you're not in a lightsaber battle. You are flying with a straw of spaghetti.
Well,
All right,
for me, well, hold on.
that's my spiel.
There's two things here. One, again, the position of your stick can reduce fatigue if you're properly supported. And I know that when I've come back from a hard mission, again, we fly with real world JTACs and some real world air intercept control guys, and we have to do it to those standards. And you spend a lot of what I call your concentration dollars doing that. By the time you get back and now you got to fly form and you got to land in the carrier, I have felt myself, I don't know if it's fatigue or whatever, doing exactly that, like overemphasizing the stick and correcting and just gripping it too hard. And if I just relax, especially when you're like from the bow to the wires on the landing, touching the stick in pitch is not going to help you. Right? So
Exactly.
if you have a death grip, you might accidentally do that. And I think it's really critical to understand the more relaxed you are, the better it's going to be, the better your position is for your joystick, the better. That's why I think it's worth investing in the things that help with that. But I think it's critical. You add up, if you took a slice of pie or percentages of success, and you said, okay, your curves are, I don't know, 10, 20%, your position and fatigue is another 10, 20%, your skill and concentration dollars for the day maybe is 25%. You start cutting into these things and removing them, all of a sudden your skills are going to be harder to express than if you have those things. So I think what we're talking about here is stacking the formation up, or the foundation up, to build good success.
Exactly. And for me, I don't know, flying formation is the most relaxing part of going out and doing missions. I know that's probably heresy for the rest of the world, but form flying is the most relaxing thing for me. Now, when I'm doing my demo, that's a different story. All right, that's a different story. But casually flying form with buddies in the server, that's so relaxing for me. One quick thing, and then we can move back to DCS. Is this is something that if you really, really, really are struggling with what I call learning your throttle, that's where you're giving way too much power input, way too much. You're all over the place, forward and back, forward and back. What you can do is you can practice taxiing in formation. All right, just get on a server by yourself with a buddy and just taxi up and down the runway at about 80-ish knots, right? 87, 70, something. Find a long runway, okay? What's pretty cool is this reference point, no matter where, okay, that's not gonna work, but this reference point, no matter where you're at, lines up with the wheel strut, the star, and the little person's face, right? So you can practice this while taxiing, and I've done that a couple of times with different students. As we just practice taxiing in formation. It's the same stuff. Now you don't have to worry about a throttle, but it teaches you throttle management, because you don't want to get too heavy on relying on the air brake or the speed brake, but we'll get into that all later. I just wanted to offer that
Well,
as a little bit more advice if you're really, really struggling.
so I know we've talked before about we learn things backwards,
Mm-hmm.
and we were teaching some air intercept control and working with one of our controllers. And some of the guys after the first practice says, "Man, it was really hard to remember all the things I'm supposed to say on the radio, keep all of that stuff up, because in the aviate, navigate, communicate kind of discussion, the communication is always the first thing that gets dumped. They're trying to work their radar, remember what they're saying, and do all of this. And just like here, where you're taking away the stick and you're only working the throttle, so you're not messing with pitch anymore, we were able to remove the actual use of the radar and an enemy target, and we were just calling in bulls as a generic number, just as a place filler, and people learn quicker. So I think it can't be said enough, the importance from my experience of teaching people to break down as many of the individual skill sets, so just to throttle, as possible. I think that's a great idea.
Yeah.
All right, you're streaming your screen, so if we're going to fly, I will
Yep. Let's
jump in.
let's yep. Let's get going.
Hold on here. And if you have any questions or comments, please feel free to ask them in chat. It's probably going to be a little bit harder for me to answer while I'm flying form than any other time, but I will try. Okay, give me just a second here. Okay.
Hello.
So
Hey,
I will use. Do we have SRS up on the server?
We should. You did earlier. Remember, we have our volumes turned down. We can talk in Discord if you want.
I
it's up
prefer
you.
to use the radio.
Okay. All right. Do you have your push to mute for your SRS bound for Discord? Okay. All right. That works. All right. Give me one moment. Let me get my jet ready to go. Yep.
We're waiting to get us on the radio here, and then we'll take off and get in the air.
Are you? Can I hear you on the radio yet? Did you try queuing up?
Radio check, one on the right.
Gotcha, loud and clear, boss.
All right, hold on a second. All right, so this is fun for me because I'm always a flight lead, and I get to follow.
Perfect, perfect. Alright, so hey, this is going to be very, very informal. I'm not going to be worried about ATC comms. It looks like we're in the airfield, in the airspace right now. So the focus of today's lesson is just going to be on some form flight. So go ahead, get your aircraft configured for how you like it. We'll go ahead and start taxiing out.
All right, I believe I'm set here. Hold on. I do think it's kind of harder to hear you than in Discord, so maybe we should just talk in Discord.
I'm cool with that.
All right, so we'll just talk in Discord.
Perfect.
It'll be easier to hear you.
You know, for like being cool and doing missions, love talking in SRS, but when it's just one-on-one teaching, I prefer to be in Discord anyway. So this works out for me. All right.
Well, I'm glad I'm here for you.
Absolutely, absolutely. Let me make sure I'm good on my. Good. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and taxi out. Again, we're kind of skipping a lot of the formalities of communication right now, as far as ATC, because it's quite literally just us. So.
Well, this is a lesson.
Yeah, we're just focusing on some form flight today. All right, so I'm checking left, right, left, right.
So now, when I line up on the runway like this, I will typically go to the other side and have them line up just as they would when we're form flying.
That's exactly what I'm going to have you do. Go ahead and find that bearing line using my nose wheel, or my nose gear strut. And what's really cool is I can kind of double check and find out, is he lined up? Because I can back azimuth his bearing line from my eyeballs to my wingtip to his nose strut.
Yep, and I do that all the time.
It works both ways. All right, let's go ahead and just make sure we're good to go. Flap set half, takeoff trim set, seat armed.
We
I got a green
what do you
jet.
set for takeoff trim?
Just takeoff trim.
Okay, you
got
just
your-
take off. Yeah.
Yeah. When I say takeoff trim set, a lot of people still have their, stabs untrimmed yet for the takeoff. So I always remind them.
Yep, got it. Let's go.
All right, let's do it. I'm running it up. Let's do about we'll do about 10 seconds of separation between takeoffs. This server does use wake turbulence. All right.
Okay, I'm set.
All right, one's rolling. We're gonna do a nice, easy departure here.
Two
runway
rolling.
heading. Rejoin speed will be 250 knots at 2,000 feet.
So my goal is to keep the closure speed as low as I can and still get there. Have a little bit of speed coming up just so I can control it, because sometimes I feel like I approach too slow. But I don't want to have to use my speed brake.
So what I tell people all the time is it's not a race. Slow is steady and steady is fast, right? So add a little drive. Nose is coming down. Settled about 60 feet higher than what I wanted, but I'm at 2,000 feet now, 250 knots. So what, and I'm sure he probably would say it, but at this point, once you have visual on lead, you'll say, hey, I've got visual on you lead, requesting rejoin, and, I clear him to rejoin, right?
Affirmative.
So as he starts approaching, right, a couple of things that you need to keep in mind as you're starting to approach is you want to get set on the bearing line early, kind of outside, and then once you have found that bearing line, then start to ease in laterally. So that's looking pretty darn good. And then once he is saddled, right, he'll come in over the mic and say, hey, hey boss, 2 saddled right.
That is
Or 2
correct.
saddled left. You're talking over. You're talking quietly without me right now, aren't you?
No. I'm just trying to concentrate, man. Aviate, navigate, communicate. I'm just concentrating right now.
All right. Let's add some speed.
Woof!
I'm sorry about that. That was ATC coming off. All right. We're gonna get up to about 350 knots. Give you a little bit more throw with your throttle. Pretty much our flight plan is from here on out is just follow me. So a couple of things that you need to keep in mind when you're flying form is I am the most important person in your life.
Well, and not hitting
What's going on in your cockpit is irrelevant. When you're flying this close and kind of parade, using power, using air power. All right, power is set. I am the most important person, the most important thing, right? What's going on in your cockpit around you is irrelevant. If I say, hey, I'm coming left to a heading of blah, 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 it doesn't matter to you, right? I'm being courteous and I'm saying, hey, this is where I plan on taking us, but it doesn't matter. You are matching what my aircraft is doing. You are constantly trying to fight to keep that reference point.
Yeah, I've had people try to look at their roll indicator and ask what I'm rolling.
I call it chameleon eyes.
Yeah,
Yeah, you'll get people with this split vision trying to look at all these different things at once when none of it really matters. It's all
No.
you matching what I'm doing. All right, so that is superb. That is pretty dang good. All right, we're gonna start coming easy left. And we're gonna hold it right about there. So there's a really interesting concept, or not concept, but flight characteristics that starts to happen whenever somebody's in a turn, right? Now, I can already see you're overreacting just a hair because I'm just at 5 degrees turn, 5 degree bank, all right? That is barely enough, if at all, to affect the flight characteristics of your jet. All right, the tendency is people go low and slide towards the aircraft if they are on the inside of a turn, or I'm sorry, the outside of a turn, right? I'm sorry, typically you see them go high and they start to slide in towards lead, and you know, they get panicked and they get scared, right? That is something I can't really train or teach you not to do. It's just one of those things where you have to get confident in learning essentially how to bank, you know, while in form. But I can tell you, you're not the only one that will start to slide towards lead. All right, coming a little further left. Now we're going to hit about 15 degrees bank. Now you're really going to start to feel that slippage, right? Some people can use rudder. It's really, at this point, it's what works for you, right? Something very interesting, though, is you, this close, not so much, but the further out you get, the faster you're going to have to fly, because you are at the end of this. Let's say we're standing in the middle of a yard and we're swinging a ball around on a string, right? If you're on the inside of the string, that string's not going as fast as the ball on the outside. A little pull to level.
I'm going to try to share my screen wide enough you guys can see what my throttle's doing. Messes up my view a little bit from what I normally see, so I might slide out. But
you can do that right control enter that brings up that red box and use that as a teaching.
It doesn't work on my system, and I don't know why. Like, it's broken. But I think people can see it now, just as a concept, that I am never stopping adjusting the throttle. It's always an adjustment. So I think you guys can see that.
Always be correcting.
Yeah, I'm going to get my view back here. Hold on.
Yep.
Okay, now we're good.
All right, coming a little further left. Now you're really going to start feeling that slippage a little. Bank is set. All right, so how are you doing? I already see you starting to slip, right?
It's just getting the roll and the speed set right.
And I'll tell you, turns are nothing easy. I hate turning. I love going straight. Straight is nice and easy. It's fun. No effort required. Turning, that requires a lot of effort. You're having to turn in, turn out, rudder in, rudder out if you're deciding to use rudders. I typically rarely ever use rudders, even in form flight.
My feet are on the floor. I don't use rudder.
Yeah. Some people swear by it. If it makes you a good pilot and you can fly form, then I'm not going to sit here and tell you to do otherwise. All right, we're coming a little bit further left. It's going to be pretty extreme. Little. Bank is set. That's 45 degrees. In form flight, this should be, if you're in any kind of parade, this should be the furthest bank that your flight lead should take you. Right? Nothing more extreme than this. So when you come out and you start practicing form, you should practice going from, you know, a 5 degree bank to a 45 and progressively, you know, make it more difficult on yourself, because practicing these turns is really, really important. All right, that's enough. I'm gonna give you a chance to relax. easing the pull, rolling out. Right. Something else that you should consider is find a flight lead that's going to fly the F-18 like a Boeing 747.
That's what I try to do.
Wings level. Alright, so how was that?
I mean, that's good. It's a lot like the commence turn in case 1 where we're doing 45. I don't get to do it in form very often because I'm leading a lot, so it feels a bit rusty, but I actually enjoy doing it. It's the multiple things at once, getting the nose on the horizon, the right throttle, the right roll, the right pull, and then just kind of massaging and understanding which one you got to do to correct whatever you've got wrong.
Exactly. And something that he's not doing right now is PIOing, but I want to talk about PIO, right? So, what is PIO, Kelly?
Pilot-Induced Oscillation, and it looks like this, where you're going up and down, and you're trying to overcorrect, and you're doing too much movement.
Exactly. So what causes that, right? PIOing is caused by you death gripping your throttle. You have at this point have exhausted your fine motor skills, and you are now relying on gross motor skills. And if hopefully everybody knows the difference between fine and gross. When you start to PIO, there's a really easy way to fix it just instantly. All right, for that half second that it's going to take for you to relax, kind of look back towards, make sure you're clear of lead, and look towards the horizon, or more specifically, look towards your HUD, right? Find the horizon, find the velocity vector, and try to center the velocity vector on the horizon, right? It sounds obvious to do, but if you're PIOing and you just stop, stare forward, relax, and push your velocity vector to the horizon, it instantly stops it. That's a big thing that I see with tanking a lot, is I kind of tell them to look past the basket, look through the basket, and kind of fly with, use a lot of peripherals when you're flying, forward with the basket. But that's one thing I can tell you that will stop that PIO. And really, what causes that PIO, like I said, is that exhaustion of your fine motor skills. You start pushing forward, which creates drag. It deflects, flight surfaces, so it creates drag. You add power. Adding power increases the lift of your aircraft. Increasing lift makes your nose come up. You don't want your nose to come up, so you push back down on the stick, and it's just this vicious cycle. All right. Hopefully you've had a nice break. We're gonna come right now. So we're just gonna do like a 5-degree bank. All right, coming right. Right there. That's all we're gonna do. Nice and easy. Right, I'm sure if he's streaming right now, you can see he's not trying to match any bank angles. He's not trying to match, speeds or altitudes. He's just doing what he has to do to stay within the reference of that sight picture, that bearing line. All right, coming further right.
Yeah, all I can do, all my concentration dollars right now are being spent on looking at you.
Right there. Coming further right. That's 30 degrees. Coming further right, a little more pull. A little more pull. Bank is set at 45. can see him right now in the mirror. Not too bad. I can use my mirror to check his bearing line right now. He is not too bad. All right, ease in the pool. Roll it out. Wings level. Not bad. All right, let's talk about rejoining, right? What's a good speed that we should rejoin at? I like to say for every mile out, and if you're flying with the blue labels in the beginning, that's super helpful because it starts to teach you. I mean, we don't really have much depth perception in track IR, which I know the majority of the community probably uses.
You couldn't do this without head tracking.
Oh gosh, no. That's your first step. Is if you're trying to fly form or do anything in this game, get some kind of head tracking software, whether it's a webcam or the track IR. Because trying to fly form with like switching back and forth with a little D-pad you've exhausted all your concentration dollars just trying to maneuver that little D-pad for your view. It's just next to impossible. But going back to what I was saying, for those blue labels, I would fly with those blue labels on until you kind of get an idea of what 1 mile looks like, one nautical mile away. For the sense that if I'm trying to rejoin by the time, I would say this, let's see, 1 mile out, I am usually 100 knots faster than them. So I'll say, hey boss, what's your speed? What's your speed? Coming right. Coming for right. Sorry, I kind of caught you off guard there. I just don't want to get to that airspace since we left it. Just hold right there, nice and easy. So once I am a mile out, I'm 100 knots faster, and that's when I start slowing down and trying to work it in. 200 knots, that's way too fast for a rejoin when you're a mile out, okay?
Yeah, you're going to blow through, have to do an underrun.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Or some kind of weird pirouette or cobra maneuver, and, that's not something your flight lead wants to see during a combat mission. But we're going to talk about rejoins and rejoin tactics, so I'm going to go ahead and brake. Easy, rolling out. I'm going to go ahead and brake away. And I'm going to let you rejoin. And I just want you to kind of talk to your audience what you're doing as you're rejoining.
Okay, do you want me to go... Whoa.
Alright. So, I'm rolled out. My speed is 300 knots, 6,000 feet, heading 020.
Alright, so I'm looking for you visual. You said 300 knots, 302... You said 020?
Heading 020, 300 knots, 6,200 feet. And I'm
Yep.
going to tell you all that information over and over again as much as you need it.
So I probably had too much speed for this, but we'll correct it. I want to get level, and I want to get on the same heading. I actually want to come in from below, not above.
Correct.
I'm going to maintain visual. I'm going to get lined up again with the right altitude. I tend to do more than one thing at once. I probably should just come in with one thing at a time. But I'm going to come off from a distance, and then I'm going to start sliding over to close that gap and looking to get my missile, or that wingtip. I'm so used to it being a missile, it's just a wingtip here, lined up, and then I'm going to just start closing the distance. So
Perfect.
just
So
very smooth, very slow.
I want to point that out. So he found that bearing line way out there, about 400 meters away from me, and then worked it in. Right? A lot of people try to fly right up behind me, and try to snake right into where they're supposed to be. That's actually not the proper way to rejoin. You're supposed to find the bearing line, and from that bearing line, slide in all the way laterally until you've gotten to where it's comfortable for you, where your flight lead and you have talked about for the flight plan that day. Oh gosh, I was going to say something. Oh yes, so something to keep in mind, right, is you noticed how he kind of winged over towards me, right? That takes a lot of practice to understand exactly how much momentum that you are going to gain by winging over, and how much momentum you're going to cancel by canceling that momentum. So
And how fast that happens.
it happens very fast, all right? So he made it look super easy. When you're starting out, I don't want you to, you don't have to be Tom Cruise or Blue Angel, right? You can just, nice and easy wing bank all the way till...
Why don't I separate out and come in nice and slow?
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
So I'm going to slow down this a little bit. I'm going to get behind you, and I'm going to walk it through, because the last one I had to do a bit fast, because I came in with more speed than I realized. All right, so let's get behind, let's get below, and you're still 300 in the box. Okay, so I have multiple problems here. I'm slower than he is, I'm lower, and I'm behind. So the first thing I really like to do is I like to get co-altitude. So I'm going to try to get up to a co-altitude position. All right, so we're basically matched altitude here. I can't really see the wingtip there, but I kind of know it feels like it's okay. So I feel like I've got altitude. I feel like speed is matched a little bit. So I'm going to start rolling in a little bit. I'm going to add a little bit of speed here because I think I may be getting behind. But I'm just going to go real slow. Again, trying to come in on this bearing line. I'm looking for that wingtip to become visible at the meatball, but I still feel like I'm about a 45 degree-ish. I feel like I'm coming in fast, so I'm going to slow it down. I don't want to come in too fast. Can just barely start to see that wing tip, and I can see the star and stripe or meatball. And now I'm set to where I really want to be, and I can just close that last little bit with a nice small roll. I am in zero hurry. There is no rush here. I'm going to go nice little movements and just try to keep working that position. Keep getting a little closer and a little closer until I can't see his burner cans, and I'm nice and close. And when I get down low like this, I don't really care. I'd rather be low than high. I can always push under and underrun, so it's safe. I'm just going to slowly start working my position back in. I'm never going to rush. I'm never going to worry about being slightly off. I'm just going to try to adjust to be within about where I am now.
And that whole process he was under control. And that's the thing, is be in control of your jet when you're flying form, especially on these rejoins, because the worst thing you want to do is... Actually, Callie, what is the worst thing that you can do to a formation if you overtake the formation?
You mean besides crash into them?
Besides crashing into them.
Yeah, is to blow right by them, because you lose sight.
Never want to go high. Right?
Oh, right.
If you're going to blow past a formation, right, if you're going to overshoot, one, let them know. No harm, no foul. Let the formation know, but do not go higher than lead. You should never be higher than lead. When you're in formation, notice you're never higher than lead. So why go higher than lead now if you're blowing past? If you go high, that creates a whole issue of now you're completely blind, and I have to talk you down and say, okay, you're about 200 feet high, go left a hair. All right, now you're clear to descend. Okay, you got me on your 3 o'clock. Okay, you see me. All right, all of that can be avoided if you just go low.
And I'm exaggerating here, being low, but I could literally go low and go underneath you if I had to do an underrun, right?
Exactly.
If I'm up here and I go over you, I'm going to lose sight of you.
Just show him.
Yeah, so if I go over here and I try to overrun, I just lost sight, and I have no idea where he is. So all I can do is go up, give power, and try to turn away, and then hope I can reacquire him by looking down again. And there he is. But if I had other wingmen, now I got to look out for them too. It isn't just me and you oftentimes. It's going to be a 2-ship, or a 3-ship, or a 4-ship, or maybe multiple ships.
Exactly. And, you are only responsible for doing everything in your power to not hit the person that you are staring at. So there's kind of like a order of precedence, or like a pattern. Like, So two's only job in formation is to fly off boss's wing and not hit boss. Three's only job is to fly off of two's wing or boss's wing, depending on, you know, how wobbly two is, and not hit two. Four's job is to, you know, fly off three's wing and so on. So he's not responsible for hitting all of these people when he's in the form, right? However, like he said, if you blow past this, I'd prefer you go, you know, down and low. That way you can maintain sight of the entire flight at all times, rather than trying to sneak in or do some weird craziness where you put the whole flight in danger because you're completely blind.
Well, and this is the type of skill that you have to earn trust in. If you drop a bomb, no one's going to see how you do that. They're just going to see if the target explodes or not. If you're flying in formation for coming back to the carrier for case 1 or going back to the airfield, this is where your teammates are really going to learn whether they can trust being around you or not. So this skill, in some ways, represents who you are as a pilot, whether you like it or not.
Absolutely. Because if you can't fly form, you can't tank. If you can't tank, you can't go out on missions. So a lot of people get DCS, get the Hornet, and the first thing they want to do is go and tank. They don't want to do anything else. They don't even know how to land yet. They still aim the velocity vector at the runway and, you know, pray that their landing gear within DCS programming is strong enough to, you know, catch them when they hit the ground. You have to learn how to fly form before you can do all these other things. You have to learn your throttle. Flying form teaches you your throttle. What do you also use your throttle for? You use your throttle for feathering during AOA, maintaining AOA with your velocity vector on the horizon. It's just, I don't know. I think form is the perfect way to start out. It helps you with everything else in the jet. It teaches you the limits of what your flight control surfaces can do, and it also teaches you how fine-tuned your flight control surfaces and you yourself can be. So, I don't know. I think I preach form, flight, form, flight, form, flight. It's my favorite thing to do. And like I said, I think it just has this cascading effect of rewards if you can. You don't even have to master it, just work on it.
So, as biased as you are, being someone who flies a demo, coming from the perspective of a squadron, I can't take you on missions. I can't make you part of the group until I can trust your admin skills. And that's just a reality. And I think joining a squadron is great, but these are some of the skills. I do want to, if we have time, after we talk about this, I'd like to talk about cruise formation and just a little bit about the time and space that gives you and the kind of things you can do with it. But I don't want to interrupt your flow here, so we'll continue.
So I was about to say, let's go ahead and take a break. I will lead, so lead can be right. I'm going to back off a bit. I'm going to form up on you, give you a chance to relax your hand, do any talking that you want to do.
Yeah, sure. So I'm going to go ahead and set autopilot. And I'm going to set auto throttle. And one of the things I do is when I'm teaching form flying, if you want to come up over to my right, is I'm not touching the stick, I'm not touching the throttle. You'll see if you look up in my HUD, my rate of climb or descent is like -10, it's very low, my speed is staying the same. And when I do this, I will tell people to look down the bottom of the long axis of the nose of the jet right here, because I think that lets you see the movement the quickest because you have the long axes there to look on. And I will say, if you see that motion, then I want you to put about half the input you think you should, right? To just be very, very smooth with it. Because to me, at least I started thinking that way. I don't know if I do that now because I've calibrated, but in terms of movement, it wants to be, like you said, it's a fine motor skill, so you're not grabbing and yanking. You don't want to break that, uncooked spaghetti noodle. You just want to go really easy.
Exactly.
And you look very comfortable here. And let's do an external shot here. Hold on.
Oh, here, let me get that money shot. Nice and good. I hate this wave turbulence. I'm not used to it. I'm running sheet all the time.
Yeah, I mean, you were really sucked up, probably even closer than I was.
Oh, yeah, I could probably reach out and touch you.
Yeah, but I'm also not moving, right? So this is extreme.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
This
is
isn't
super easy. Super
for
easy,
you.
easy flying, nice and straight.
Yeah. Well, this is what so I always want to make things as easy as possible for my wingman. In fact, while we're doing this, let me check the chat because I have not had a chance to.
Yep.
We have a hello from, is it Stanislav, I believe? Well, hello and welcome. Again, I've been trying to check the chat, but I can't fly super close form.
Can't fly form and check the chat.
No. So, but, again, this is the Hornet School for anyone who's been joining. Hornet here is actually teaching me, and right now he's giving me a chance to talk and to relax my arm, which is nice, because we don't fly form flying that tight for very long. It's usually just close around the carrier airfields. Most of the time, we're going to fly a TAC form of some kind.
Absolutely. Yeah, your parade formation is exactly what it sounds like. It's for showing off.
Well, I mean, at the carrier, from initial to break, it's for timing in the interval, but yes, showing off too. But if you learn this, going to a cruise position and maintaining it a little farther off is even easier.
Yeah, I mean, so right here is about like the sweet spot for any kind of form, right? You want to be able to put two jets in between you and lead, right? You don't want to sit. You don't want to. You don't have to Google angels close. That's just going to wear you out, right? Unless you're weird, perverted like me and enjoy it. Two plane lengths is perfect, right? Find that bearing line and just ride it. And as he was saying, right, when you're out here, really spread, it's even easier. You just, at this point, you say, "Hey, boss, what's your heading and direction and speed, or heading, speed, and altitude?" And then he'll just tell me, and you just maintain that.
Well, and what I think is key too is the fact that you can work with your skill, you can grow your skill and make this easier, or something that's not quite as tasking as hard. And again, you're only going to use a little bit, but when you're farther out, you're going to use pretty much, and he's being a Blue Angel guy now, you're going to pretty much use the same skill. But there is another time in regular transit flight when parade is actually very important. Do you know when that is, Hornet?
I don't know, maybe like BDAs or something?
Nope, when you're flying through weather, clouds.
Oh, yes, when you're in the goo, yep.
So you want to be as close as possible.
I have to already do form,
Yeah, and here you are showing off. I love it.
It's been a minute since I've done anything tactical. I mean, most of the time I just teach people form, teach them case one, and fly my little village. But yeah, this will be a cool F2 shot if I can do it. I'm not used to the big turbines though, so I'm trying to get
Yeah, you're not going to see me doing this because it's just not a skill I need. Woof! Don't hit me.
No, we're good.
All right, so
there you go. That was my little. I had to. I'm sorry. It drives me crazy when I fly form straight for too long. I have to make it hard on myself.
you lose your mind. Yeah. So, is there anything else you want to cover on parade flying or this portion of it?
So let me think. We've covered rejoins. We've covered just the basis of what form flying is. We've talked about turns. Honestly, I think the honorable mention here is you have to have a good flight lead too. All right, so you can't have a flight lead that is unstable. Hey guys, we're gonna go left, or like, hey guys, let's we're suddenly gonna climb. Okay, here we go. Yep. You have to have a nice, stable flight lead, right? You can't fly form off of somebody that is just wildly, crazy.
And that's something that we did a flight lead podcast with some of the Hornet School guys a few weeks back. And that's something that's really critical to success, is setting your wingmen up for success and making their life easier. right? That means you need to be ahead of the jet and plan, because if you're turning that sharp that late, you either need to disengage and make it easier, or you just didn't plan right and you're letting your lack of planning and this sudden urgent need stack up on you when you should have started turning earlier. And that's just from my experience doing missions, not just flying like this, but in different ways. So what I'd like to do, I want to show a couple of the tactical things beyond this. So why don't you push out, well actually, you know what, let's do this, stay exactly where you are. If we're going to spread, we would use something called dig. So you're going to dig out, all right? And when we do that, what happens is flight lead is going to be here. Now, you would be in cruise, which is about where you are. It'd be my wingtip to my nose, so you'd be back just a little bit more, right? And it would be so that you would have the freedom of movement left and right. You would have your nose behind my rear tail cone enough that if I turned, I wouldn't cut you off, and that if you need to go left or right, inside or out, you'd be fine. But let's say we're in this position. You have a little bit more freedom. You have a little bit more time and space to do things. Like from this position, I could tell you to fence in. You could switch your master arm on. You could go to an air-to-ground master mode. You could get your laser codes in. You could get your targeting pod set with a laser. You could turn on your EW. You could turn off your lights because you don't have lights on in formation. And if you're flying comfortable, you should be able to do all of that from that distance and space, because now you don't have to fly so heavy on me. Little adjustments, little back and forth is far less important. In cruise, you actually have from 100 to 1,000 feet away from me. So, Hornet, I know you're very experienced, but do you feel like you have a lot more time and space in this position to do the things you need to do heads down?
Oh yeah, I went heads down and did all those things while you were talking, and this was about the highest that I got out of being out of reference.
Yeah,
so,
and again,
it gives you plenty of time for uh-ohs and all this extra movement back here. I love this, yeah.
Yeah. So and again, we're moving more into a tactical implementation. We're moving to the we've taken off. We're out of cruise. We're now working together as a team. So let's say we were going to go air to air. Don't do it now, but I'll tell you just so we can describe it. We're going to do what's called dig. And dig means 20 degrees to the left. So let me make this easy. I'm going to roll us left to exactly 020. All right, so we're 020. And what I would say is flight dig. And what that means is when I say dig, you're going to turn 20 degrees to your side, so you're right. I'm going to 20 degrees to my left. And what I'm doing is getting us laterally separated for an air-to-air engagement or for whatever reason I want. I'm just separating out the form. And the reason I think this is important is you're now flying form, but you're flying a little bit different, and we're going to start to incorporate some instruments. So do you have any questions about that, Hornet?
Nope, I'm just going to get a little closer so it looks kind of cooler.
Have you ever done this before?
No. If
Okay.
I have, it's been years.
Okay, so we're just going to introduce a little bit more of the squadron level of form flying outside of just parade. So, flight dig. Oh, wait, stand by. Let's speed up a little bit.
Okay.
And I'm actually walking the throttles forward a little bit left, a little bit right. I'm going to get us up to about the speed we are now. All right, so our contract speed for this is going to be 340. So if you maintain your contract speed and you turn off, we should stay about even with each other when we turn back in. All right, so I'm going to have us, when I say it, flight dig, then we'll dig. So flight dig. And I'm just going to roll and pull to 000, so that's 20 degrees. He's going to roll and pull to 040. And now we're actually flying apart. I can see he's about a mile out. So what I'm going to do is say flight resume. That means you're going to turn back to your original heading. So flight resume. So now we both turn back to 020. Oops, let me get on here a little bit. And when I look over, you're going to be right next to me. Right, we're online. We're far apart, but we have a nice spread. So that's just another tool that we can use in terms of, you know, spreading out the flight for different purposes. And you know my heading, and you know my speed. So all you really need to do is occasionally look to the right and see. You could use your SA page, but you're really not going to get a good idea unless you're kind of at a lower scope rate. So like 5 or 10 miles. At 80 miles, where you probably want some visibility, you really can't tell. So it kind of depends. If you're in bad weather or something happens, you could put it down to 5 and make sure. If we're in bad weather and I call dig, you know what to do. We're all going to separate, right?
Yes, sir.
All right, so pinch is the opposite. We're going to turn towards each other at 20 degrees. Now, I have two choices. I can just do it until I say resume, or I can say pinch until we're 0.1 miles or something, right? And then I could have you close in. So we're gonna pinch to 0.1. So flight pinch. So I'm gonna roll, and I'm gonna look, and I can see what my heading is. And I'm 040. I'm gonna start rolling back earlier just a little bit because it takes time, and I can't see him, but he can see me now. So now I'm resuming. And we're ending up about where I was hoping. And from this position, you could easily come back to cruise position, right? Where wingtip to nose about 100 feet back.
Sound correct.
Yep. So again, just introducing, hello Fernando, welcome to the stream. So again, just introducing a little bit of a tactical phase that you would use to push a flight out. Again, you're now including the instruments because you're trying to have the same speed when they push out. You're going to have the same turnout so that no one gets behind or in front of each other. We're staying in that parallel position. That's what we're going to call a wall formation. We're just all online together, right? So hopefully that was fun for you.
No, that's cool. I like that.
Again,
Yeah, so other than looking pretty and flying 14 inches away from somebody's wingtip, you know, I don't get to do any of this stuff anymore. So it's neat to learn.
yeah. So again, just that teamwork and the skill building from flying close formation to pushing out and being able to tactically deploy together. That's all I really wanted to show with that. It's kind of the easiest one to show. There are some other things we can do with tack turns, but those are more technical and instrument flying than formation flying. Could do that in another live stream, but that's what I have. So if you want to resume flightly, we can go back to whatever you want to do.
All right. Well, is your TACAN working? Try 21 X-ray. Because my TACAN's bugged a little bit right now.
21 X-rays got me with nothing. Is that your yardstick?
That should be Krasnodar. No, that should be Krasnodar right now.
How far are we?
I do want to. Well, it wasn't working when we were about to take off, so I was just kind of hoping that it would fix itself in flight, but I guess it's not. But you mentioned Yardstick, so I do want to kind of bring that up real quick. So, turning off blue labels, right? What is an easy way that you can figure out how close your flight lead is, right? Well, it's a pretty cool little tool called Yardsticking. So what you're going to do is you're going to turn your TACAN on. Flight lead is going to punch in 2-9, and I am going to punch in 9-2. And if we both switch our instruments to air, did you plug yours in?
Yep, I need to be in air-to-air mode, you said?
Yes, air-to-air mode.
So I'm showing that TACAN to be 345 miles away, or 314 miles away as ATC.
Okay, well, I guess this isn't going to work today. But, so these are the exact steps that you do. It's called Yardsticking. So, an easy number that you can, it's actually aggravating me that it's not working.
Well, let's try a different set. Just pick something. I'll go with. You tell me what you want, and I'll put the number in.
All right. Well, try 30. I'm gonna try 93. But again, my TACAN has not been working this whole trip, so I don't know if this is.
Have you cycled it on and off?
Oh, I've done all the. I troubleshot it that whole time we were flying, trying to get it to come back on.
Yeah, I've got nothing.
Well,
we could show. Is there a tanker around here? We have Jason who says, "How about the transition between formation and air-to-air refueling formation? They are the same exact skill, just applied in a different way. In fact, you don't chase the basket; you chase the aircraft, and it works better. I don't know if you have a tanker around here."
Yeah, what we're gonna do is go to select roll, and we are about 90 miles away from the nearest tanker. And just for time's sake, there's air starts. If you want to take a Krasnodar air start, I'll wait till I see you in the slot, and then I'll spawn. I will just count to 3 and then spawn, because otherwise we'll spawn right on top of each other.
Okay, let me know when, and I'll hit fly.
All right, hit fly.
All right, so here we go.
All right,
Oh, I got visual. Yep. Whoa, you're way out there. What's your speed?
Yep. Oh, easing down, easing a lot of power. I think I've started at default at 400. 377 and dropping. 360. 355. 350 locked in the box. 10,000 feet.
All right, so I went to HMD and I unboxed blanking so I can see his distance in my HUD. It's a trick that I use. So I'm 0.7 out, and you said you're 360 in the box.
350 in the box.
Okay, so 50 knots ahead. I'm going to start rolling it back a little bit, and I want to be underneath him because I want to be able to underrun. Now I'm going to come out wider. Sometimes I don't always do this, but I think it's a better thing for when you're new. I'm going to get co-altitude. I'm about cold speed. I want to get him in my cabin or my canopy here. I'm going to get a little bit more forward to feel like I'm on line. Then I'm going to try to hold him about the same spot in my canopy, something I forgot to mention earlier. And then just close in. And I'm guessing he's going to lead us to the tanker.
I'm going to try to. I'm still having TACAN issues. This is goofy right now, but let's see. All right, I got visual on you, clear for rejoin.
2 rejoining.
Let's see. Let's lift. We have a tanker. Maybe headed to. I don't like fueling off of the Hercules, but that's the closest one. Next closest one is pretty far away.
Oof, I haven't done that in a while. It'll be a good challenge.
Do what?
I haven't done it off the Hercules in a long time, so it'll be a good challenge.
It's so big. Alright, right now we've got a Hercules orbiting about 20-ish miles. Ooh, no, 40-ish miles. Heading 074. We just get some stuff programmed in, and then we'll start that turn.
What's the TACAN for it?
That's 1 second.
So I'm going to go to cruise formation here so I can have the heads down time to put my TACAN in.
Alright, so we're going to Arco 11, TACAN 12. X-ray, frequency 258.
Is that preset as a radio channel?
It probably is, just, I'm just going to stick it in as a manual. 258 is usual.
Okay, I got that done. Let me get my TACAN set.
What did I say for that TACAN?
You said 12, but it's not coming up for me. Well, it'd help if I box TACAN, but still not coming up.
I don't know. I'll have to reset the mission after this. I think it ran a little too long today. Okay. Arco 1 says 12 X-ray. Yeah, I'm getting wild radiation. just gonna come in and do this kind of a different way. So, all right, you ready for some fun?
I'm always ready. Let's go.
All right, we're gonna be check turn left. Heading 070.
So when I do a check turn or a tack turn, I don't know what you mean by a check turn. I want to make sure I understand.
So basically, I'm just waiting for you to say, hey, you're ready for us to do a little bit of a...
Yeah, I'm ready too. Let's go.
All right, let's go. Here we go. On the left. A little. Easing the roll and out. A little drive to level. It's going to be a forward stick. There you go. Alright, autopilot's going back on. We've got a nice steady platform. That was a little crazy there, but we're trying to play some catch up. Alright, we're going to be coming left again. An easy left. Further left. One thing that I see a lot of people do behind the tanker, which is probably the worst possible thing you could ever do, is trying to fly with autopilot.
Oh God, really? How the hell would
Yes.
you do that?
I've seen people. I kid you not. I've seen a couple videos. I know there's some kind of person out there that's giving bad info. Rolling out.
So
Somebody is out there giving bad info that says, "Oh yeah, this is the best way to tank. You gotta put your ATC on, get your autopilot set, and then just try to match speed. There you go." And then yep. And I was in complete, like, my jaw dropped to the floor. I could not believe what I was seeing. But it's not an isolated incident. There's always one person that says, "Oh yeah, I put on barometric altitude hold, and I try to, that's how I tank." And that is so absurdly wrong that it just makes me want to jump through the screen and string whoever tells people that that's a thing.
yeah, there's no way, because you have to constantly adjust your speed. You're constantly doing micro adjustments to your altitude. If the tanker turns, you need to be able to adjust to that, and that's going to affect your speed and your roll. That's just, no offense, that's just lousy advice.
Oh, definitely.
So I will say this really quick. One, and I'm not telling you what to do, in cruise formation, I very rarely announce what I'm doing, because that's the whole point of cruise. But to give the people out there watching, typically it's the wingtip to the nose, so it's going to look like this a little bit. And I can be 100 feet to 1,000 feet back. But it also, like on the inside here, say I wanted to save fuel, if I'm flying in formation, I have the freedom to come over to the left side. So again, tactical formation skills, trusting your wingman and knowing he knows how to use them. Now I can come over here and I'm actually saving fuel because I'm on the inside of the turn. And people might not think about that, but when you want to increase your operational time in an area, you want to extend what's called your playtime, these little things help. And let's say we were flying at bingo profile and he's going very slow. If I was on the inside, I'd probably get into stall and I need to go to the outside. So this kind of formation flying isn't as pretty as parade, but from a squadron standpoint, this is one of the most important things. I need to be able to rely on you, put you in a position where I know you can have the freedom of movement, the heads down to do the things you knew to do in your targeting pod or whatever else, and then it frees me up as flight lead to think about what's happening in the situation. I don't have to worry about you. I can trust you, and then I can get the plan going for what we're doing. So we're talking about the next level of skill and how important that is to being successful in a squadron and working as a team.
Alright. Cal, we're going to add some power.
Yep, go for it.
More power. More power. We're going to probably... I've got them up there now on the nose. Probably going to burn all the way up there. If you want, go ahead and make your call first. since you're going to have the lower state since you're flying wing.
Refuel.
Texaco 111-251. Request rejoin. Proceed to pre-contact at 13,270.
Thanks for the comments about flying. I put a lot of time in the DCS. I really work on it. It's my passion and my hobby, so you're just not seeing all the mistakes I made prior to today. And I don't get to fly flight lead very often, or wingman very often anymore, so I always enjoy it.
Alright, so in complete fashion. Alright, so actually we're going to Texaco 11, not Arco 11. 251 is the correct call sign. Gosh. 251 is going to be the correct radio frequency.
Okay, that's what I called in on, so we're good.
Oh, Texaco 11? Alright.
Yeah, you said 251.
111151. Request rejoin.
Coming easy, right?
And see here, I can mess with my radar. I could lock up a target. I can do other things because I'm not so focused. Here I'm getting a little close. But I don't have to be perfect. I could be, I wouldn't really want to be high. I prefer to be low. But I could be here. I could be a little closer. Now, if we're flying with a 4-ship in cruise, number 3 has to double the interval I have to lead so that he can move back left and forward, right? So then I have a little bit more responsibility because I got to maintain something even and not make him fight for it all the time. But still, you get a bit of more ability to work the different things in your heads down situation. Here, I'm going to go ahead and stay close because we're going to the tanker.
Go ahead, go echelon left. He looks like he's in a left-hand turn coming. Easy left. Using a hair power. Using power. Further left. A little more pull. Notice I'm not trying to make it a race about getting to the tanker. I can. I have a wingman on my side. I've got to fly very smooth and deliberate to get to this tanker. Using a hair power. Did you catch his speed earlier when he called?
I did not.
That's alright. Using a hair
If it's him, he's probably no higher than 270.
Rolling out. Correction, we're gonna keep it right there. Alright, go ahead and transition echelon left. Adding a hair power. Coming further left. Coming further left, adding some more power. Got a little slow there, it's okay. Adding a little more power. Adding more power. I want it to take all day to get to this tanker.
So I'm adjusting power and matching speed before I even try to move up. Again, I'm just doing one thing at a time. Often I'll do multiple.
Further left.
but I try to break it down into simple chunks.
Easing power. Easing bowl. Power. Stand by the boards. That means speed brakes. Boards. Boards up. Easing power. Easing more power.
Alright, so they asked how we transition from this to air refueling, and as where here I'm flying his wing and I'm referencing wing, I'll show you what I reference on the tanker. Now I haven't flown, it's probably been a year or more since I tanked off this, so hopefully I don't screw it up.
It'll all work out. Alright, 2, you're good to go get a drink. It looks like there's a drone that's about to take a drink from the left side. Might have to transition to right.
Okay, you want me to come underneath you and go?
Yes, sir.
Alright, 2's coming under. Alright, so much like form flying, I'm going to match my altitude. I'm going to line up this part of my glass to this part of the tanker pod, and then I'm going to...
Traffic. Watch traffic. You got traffic under 6 o'clock.
Oh shit, who's that?
The AI that's trying to take a drink off the left wing. That's why I said go to the right.
Oh, I'm going right. Sorry. Woo boy, he don't care that I'm here, does he?
No, drones, they will just run you right over.
See, this would be a bad wingman. Man, I was getting all excited there.
I know. I felt bad.
It's all good. Let's see how the AI... I've never seen AI actually tank before.
Oh, they tank it like perfectionists. It upsets me.
Well, good. If I don't look like this, then I'm not a perfectionist. How's that? Well, hopefully he's not here too long. Look at that. Nice and slow. That's nice.
Does it only have one basket on this Hercules?
I don't know. Does it have 2?
I don't know. Give it a try.
Ready. Pre-contact.
Ready, pre-contact. Clear contact.
Oh, no!
Okay.
Alright, so let me get back to what I was saying. I'm going to put my glass up there, though this thing is a little bit over, and I need to be careful of him, because I don't know this thing is like dragging to the left. So it's a little nerve-wracking. But I'm going to put my top of my glass up to that, and I'm going to peripherally look at the basket. I'm not actually looking at the basket directly. And I kind of know where my hose is. I'm just going to start coming forward. Oop, I'm a little low, but I'm not in any rush. Just going to scoot it up nice and slow and push forward.
Contact. And that's an important thing he just said, and I'm going to kind of talk for him while he's doing this, is pushing forward, right? So you can't rush this process. You can't aim for the basket. You have to use your peripherals to make sure you're lined up. If you chase the basket, you're just going to PIO, right? Look past the basket and look at that pylon. As you start to approach, make sure you are not approaching or getting closer by accident. Make sure everything is deliberate. Right? As you start to approach, you're going to make connection with that basket. Your job isn't done yet. A lot of people who are brand new at tanking, they connect to the basket and they just pause. They stop and they're like, oh, I actually did it. Right? Have that victory, but keep on working. You're still flying form, right? So you have to push forward a hair to give yourself some extra room to work with, right? You don't want to be at the limit of that hose. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and transition and take a drink as well.
Good, and I'll try to get in a good position to film. But no, he's absolutely right. It's your peripheral vision. I'm mainly flying form. I'm kind of adjusting to the peripheral, but if you're flying form, it should generally line up. And once you see the probe lined up with the basket, generally speaking, and you keep flying form, you might make some minor adjustments, but again, that is not my main focus. The main focus is flying the formation, and when I get to the basket, I push forward, push it in, the probe into the basket, and then I push forward to hold a position. In this one, I was looking at that other star and stripe there and kind of keeping my canopy within a certain distance of it, so just having any reference point. And he's plugging it as the hose comes out, which is another option.
So as I'm flying, right, I mean, it's cool, yeah, I've got connected to the basket, but I'm going to find something steady on this aircraft. For instance, the pylon that this basket comes out of. And I'm just going to find a reference point, maybe between the canopy rail and the glass for my HUD. And I'm just going to try to keep that constant, right? I'm not really going to look at anything else. I'm going to find little details, so as they stop to render, I guess, is how you're going to kind of control your depth perception. But as they start to either get easier to see or maybe some lines go away, that's how I can tell my lateral distance. And I'm doing all those tiny little adjustments, right? A lot of throttle, not a lot of stick.
Right, and it's
Right.
all the same skills, right? It's exactly the same skill, just applied a little different. And again, just like the tactical flying we showed, now you can extend your mission time, you can refuel before you get into an area of operation to have plenty of fuel, you can refuel on the backside, and you're able to be a longer, more sustained asset to whatever thing you're supporting.
Alright, 2 saddled right.
Alright, we're going to go ahead and go millpound nice and slow. We're going to accelerate past the tanker. And we're going to get up to about 350 knots. And we're going to climb and get ahead of it, or above it. So now we're vertically and laterally separating. I'm going to get us up to about 15,000 feet, and I'll let you bring us back to whatever we're going to do.
Good. Well, at this point, we'll just, once you get settled, we'll go lead left. I'm sorry, lead right, and then take us home.
You're welcome, Jason. Happy to help. We got traffic ahead of us. Let me look at the altitude here.
It's a drone.
Okay, they're at 13,000, so I'll level us out at 15. Nice and level and easy. Alright, I'll have you I'll have you resume lead.
Alright, lead right. Locked in the box.
Alright, I'm going to slide back.
Alright, B alt coming on.
And I'm going to go back to flying cruise unless you tell me you want me to fly parade.
You can go whatever's comfortable. We're heading to ACOP. I'll give you some info on that here in a second. All my TACANs just don't want to work today.
It's all good. Doing it live is going to be harder.
I know, right? It's decided to just nothing wants to work today. Yeah, not even the TACANs within like the default TACANs are working. So. But anyways, we're headed to Maycop. Let me see what's going on here. All right. Well, anyways, we're coming right, heading 186. Coming right.
I'm moving to the inside, so I have to chase that extra speed on the outside.
Yes, sir. Yeah, we're going kind of zooming right now. Runway heading will be 22.
Cop 22.
Alright, Losing some power. Losing some power. Coming off autopilot.
Are we going to do overhead brake?
Sure. Do an overhead brake.
Is that full back power, speed brake on, pull about 1% of G?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Easing that pull. Rolling now.
It's funny that you describe all of that and do it. I never in this position do I do it.
Power. Stand by the boards. Boards. Another thing, flight lead should never go complete idle. If he goes idle, I give him zero room for any error. So, again, it's an honorable mention to say, if you're going to practice doing form flight, you have to have a very nice lead.
So I believe in our practice is you don't go below 75 RPM in the jet. That gives me headroom so I don't have to use the speed brake, which is a blunt tool, versus the throttle, which is a fine instrument.
Yep, I'm at 80 right now, so he's got so much room to play with.
Yep.
Now we're going to be doing a left-hand brake. Boards up.
Altitude. Altitude.
Using power. Coming easy left. Just going to keep our speed set. We should slow down to 350 by the time it's ready to brake.
Yep, and I moved up to parade.
Adding a hair power, a little more pull to level. Adding a hair power. Adding a hair more power. Or a hair load, because I'm just guessing at this QFE. Probably not
What interval do you want?
We'll do 5. Adding a hair power. Let's get back up to 350 here. And ones in the brake.
Choose them.
That time away for me to get your RWR, or not RWR, your radar out on, if you haven't already. Now, for me, I always have my guys practice the overhead brake over land, kind of to the same standard that it is over the carrier. That way, by the time they get to the carrier, you know, nothing should be different, nothing should be scary, it should all be the same.
Yep, I'm descending to 600 feet.
Yep. On the boat, right? When do we start that turn?
It's a
that
beam,
final turn?
so it's a beam, the LSO platform, 1.1 to 1.4, I believe it is.
So over land, we don't have a moving target anymore. So I always tell them, start this turn at about 45 degrees behind you.
Okay, when the runway's 45, got it. Yep, I can see you turning up there.
Joystick left lane.
2's got right. All right, we're almost to 45. Oof. I think the altitude changes over here a little bit.
Punch down. We are heavy jets, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, I noticed that.
That's okay.
Yeah, I think I did a little bit fast in the descent rate just because it's so heavy.
Yeah, I mean, we pretty much landed at full weight.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Looks like you're clear or active.
Clear. Yep.
Alright, I'm going to slide over their side. So, we'll park here for a second. I'll catch up on the chat. Again, if you have any comments or whatever, this is the Hornet School teaching some of their things about formation flying. This is the One Actual podcast. I'm Callie, part of One Actual, and we have an affiliation with the Hornet School. We've been doing some podcasts, which are great. But it was, a thought to be able to actually show some of the things the Hornet School works on and to bring it to the community. If you want to improve your skills, I'd suggest joining the Discord link for the Hornet School down there. One Actual is a DCS community. We fly the Viper, the Hornet, and the Harrier. We also have a Red Air Squadron. We work with some real JTAC, some real AIC guys. We do some pretty in-depth missions, at least from what I've ever done before. And we'll get parked. We'll close this up a little bit. I'll answer the questions or comments in chat. And then I think we'll call this one good. So if you have anything else to say, Grumpy, we do have helicopters. That is correct. All right, let me park here. I'm not familiar with this area.
Oh, I'm not either. This is my first time here.
Oh, so you're just... I see. We're just parking, like, over here. Okay. I'm busting up the lines, but we'll grab this line right over here.
Yeah, it was kind of, oh, that's an airport over there.
Let's go to that airport.
Yep.
Copy. All right, give me a second to park here. So while I'm parking, you want to talk a little bit about the Hornet School and kind of how this falls into the training and what your guys' goals are for those that don't know?
Absolutely. So if you haven't heard of us yet, we are a school that teaches Hornet pilots. We have a seven-day program complete with
Place
a
full
ton
chunks.
of missions that, not missions, training sessions that pretty much teach you the fundamentals of flying the F-18. We are not a squadron, we are a school, so we don't teach weapons deployments, but again, like I said, we teach fundamentals. Day one, you can expect to learn how to do overhead brakes, you understand the purpose and ability, and we teach the ability of the aircraft and flying AOA. Day 1.5 is essentially what we did today with Callie. We take you up, we give you a chance to get some wing time. We talk about formation flight, techniques, all the different ins and outs. We also cover a little bit more of some radio brevity from pilot to pilot talk, and then just simple CTAF for the general purpose DCS server. Ooh, you got me. All right, CTAF stands for, quickly looking it up. I know it's basically like civilian, it's pretty much pilot controlled ATC, but let me look this up real quick so I don't feed you guys crap. All right, so CTAF is the Common Traffic Advisory Frequency. It's a VHF radio frequency designated for pilots to communicate their intentions to other pilots. It is used at airports where there's no control tower in use. So that's what CTAF stands for. Yep. Pretty much. And the way we teach it here is we make a sandwich out of it. We would say, make off traffic 100, holding hands with what numbers on your side of your aircraft? 1, 2, 3. Taxiing from parking to runway 22, make off traffic. So very, very simple. Just it can get you from point A to point B with the rest of the DCS community knowing your intentions. I am not the expert on ATC. We do have the expert on ATC that teaches whole classes on not just what you need to know as a pilot, but actually, teaches what, if you wanted to be an air traffic controller on VATSIM, he could, show you the ropes. But moving along from that, we do day 2, which is navigation. So we go over all the nav aids, so HSI, sequencing waypoints, ADF navigation, as well as teaching you autopilot and the F-18 and its capabilities. Day 3, we go over in-flight emergencies. So flat spin recovery, left to right engine out, like how to restart it back in the air, as well as taking off and having at random one of your engines flame out and having to dump your stores, dump fuel, and get back to the runway as soon as possible. Day 4 is air-to-air refueling. Hopefully by this point you've been, working on your form practice in between lessons and during the lessons. So at this point we just pretty much go up, do what me and Callie just did. I sit behind you, kind of hide behind you and match your inputs and kind of tell you, hey, you're giving too much stick. Hey, easy on the throttle. All right, don't watch the basket. Make sure you've got, a static reference point, and give you all the tips that I can give you to help you successfully tank. Day 5, we go over IFR night flight, so we break out some approach and arrival charts, which is pretty fun to look at and interpret, and essentially fly a 200-mile flight in very, very low visibility with some rain. Day 6, we take you out to the boat. We teach you case 1 and all the craziness that happens with that. And then day 7 is ultimately your graduation. We end the whole school with pretty much a CQ qual. You get 12 attempts and you have to make 8 gradable arrested landings and pass with a score of 75 or higher, and then you get your wings and we push you out to whatever squadron that we can recommend at the time.
And
in a nutshell, that's Hornet School.
Yeah, and I think it's the Lord's work, and I joke about that because this is the stuff that we spend hours and hours grinding on as a squadron, making sure that you have the skills and the capability. And so the things that you guys are doing, I think, are absolutely critical. And I had a struggle when I first got to DCS of finding a place to go. Not only just a squadron to get along with, but, I'm the kind of person that just flying and learning jet on my own is cool, but once I once I get it figured out, I'm bored and I want to do teamwork and I want to work with other people. So I think this is a great service to the community. It's one of the reasons I try to promote it. I've also enjoyed doing live streams and talking to you guys and showing what's here. And I want to bring for people who maybe haven't been in a squadron, some understanding of what that's like. And the form flying we showed here and the different parts of that, I think, really show that well. The fact that you guys are dedicated to training people, and we have 2 pilots in Hornet School now. I think one of them is about to finish, and I'm going to love seeing him come over, have these skills, and I know that I can work with and trust him, because the bombing and the shooting, all that stuff is far easier to deal with than these skills, right?
Absolutely.
So
Anyone can shout Fox 3.
yeah, anyone can shout Fox 3. So I do appreciate the comments. A lot of things talking about showing some good form. Again, that's just from practice and not seeing the mistakes I made before. I do think we got to show the aero refueling, which was nice, and kind of that transition. So I hope that helps. If you've liked this, subscribe, like, share, whatever. Especially letting people know about the Hornet School. I think that's a great service that's out there. It's totally free. So I appreciate this. I wanted to show the inside. It's one thing to talk about it exterior. It's another thing to show it in. Maybe we'll do some other classes like this live and go through it. So I appreciate it. Hornet, before we go, do you have anything you wanted to say?
Just to say one thing, formation is not simple. It is very, very difficult. All right, it's not impossible, but it's something you should take pride in as you work to get it. And I don't mean this fact. I don't mean to make it sound like it's just a unreachable goal. The point I'm trying to make is it does take time. Don't expect to come out here tomorrow and be able to do this. Don't expect to come out here next week and be able to do this. I would look at about 2 to 3 weeks out at where you're going to be, so that when you reach that, you can look back and say, oh yeah, I remember when I couldn't do turns, and now I can do turns at least. I'm not good. I'm not that good yet, but I can stick with it. I don't know how long Callie has in DCS. I have 2 years of being on a demo team, and that's kind of, we make it look easy. It is not easy. I promise you. I struggle busted for 3 months to just fly in a straight line off somebody's wing when I first started.
So I've been playing off and on since probably about 2010, maybe something like that. It took me until 2021 to actually find the right squadron, so it was kind of a mess. I was focused on some other games, so it wasn't my primary. But had I have the group I have now, 10 years ago, I'd have been very happy. But I also probably didn't feel comfortable with some of my skills. I couldn't refuel in the air. I actually found that rather intimidating. But the instructor pilot worked with me, and we went through the things we talked about in this video. We got my curves done. We talked about the right technique. He saw what I was doing in real time, told me to calm down, relax, and do all the things that we've discussed here at one point or another in this podcast. And so a real pilot, from zero to fighter pilot is a several year process with not just materials to read, but practice in a real jet and a cadre of people who've been there before you to help you through all of those things. So having Hornet School there, I think, is a nice little way of adding that. But the bigger point is, don't rush yourself, right? Take the time and look at where your skills are, like you said, 2, 3, 4 weeks down the road, and then be able to build and move on. DCS is a never-ending challenge, at least in my experience.
It's something that you come out every day and learn something new.
Yes, or you should.
You will never be the arbiter of knowledge with in DCS.
Yeah,
it's a collective.
Absolutely. So again, I appreciate you coming here. I think we'll be doing some more podcasts coming up. I hope everyone has had a great holiday season. I thank you for watching, and I look forward to seeing you all next time.